Okay, and welcome back, and we've got our last video here. So all the neutral cards for Ashes of Outland, of which there are 30 of them. So I'm going to go through them, and again I'm going to go from Ascending Mana cost here. So we'll start here. Ethereal Aug Merchant. Battlecry, deal 1 damage to minion, give spell damage +1. So there's 3 of these ethereal cards here. And are they... They're all ethereals, right? Sorry, there's 3 Aug Merchant cards. And all of them have Battlecry, deal 1 damage to a minion, and 2 win stats, and then a bonus effect here. So, with these cards, like the biggest comparison is number 1, Elven Archer. Elven Archer was a really strong, not really strong card, but a really useful card. Because it was a 1 mana 1/1 that gave a ping. And it's always been useful. So here, same thing. We got a 1 mana 2/1 for a ping. And then we got a little effect here. So the key thing with Elven Archer is that you would almost always use it to kill something. Like, you would not just ping something and then leave it alive. So for here, like, it's a spell damage +1. That's a bonus to you. That's not a detriment to the enemy. That's a bonus to you. But it's spell damage. So the situations where spell damage is useful is not all that much. So it's a 3-star card. It's good, but it's a 3-star card. Guardian Aug Merchant, on the other hand. Deal 1 damage to minion and give it Divine Shield. This is a 5-star card. Easy. Let's see here. Sorry, this is actually not a 5-star card. I thought it was a 5-star card. I forgot my reason for it. This is a 4-star card. Because I remember my reasoning, I initially had it at 5 stars, but then I looked at it and there's just enough situations with the card that I lowered it back down to 4 stars. So, let me explain here why it's 4 stars. First off, you can't, like, if your opponent has a Divine Shield, you can't ping off the Divine Shield. So there is one major aspect of the card that the uses of Elven Archer, that's gone. You can't ping off Divine Shields. Secondly, you have to deal 1 damage to your own minion to give it Divine Shield. So, and I think this is the one where I had issue, because for a lot of things that you're going to use, you're going to have 1 health. Like, if you have Divine Shield, you use it defensively on 1 health guys a lot. And you use it on guys with 1 health because you want that, because usually they have kind of higher level attacks. So, like, it's very, very good because it gives your guys Divine Shield. But the problem is that there are going to be enough awkward situations, or situations where, like, your opponent has a 2/3, and you want to use this to take out the 2/3, but then you give the 2/3 Divine Shield, that I want it to be 5 stars, but it's only going to end up being 4 stars. Infectious Spore. This is one of my favorite cards of the set, because this card necessitates that you have removal. Because if you don't, the entire game becomes, every single minion transforms. And again, transforms, which means no death rattles or anything like that, into Infectious Sporelings until someone removes it. So this is like, I love this card. I'm not sure if it's good, but this is my feral gibberer of the set, where I just love that this card exists. For me, it's a low 3-star card. Like, and I want to say this, I'm not sure if Blizzard added this because of COVID. But but here we have a COVID card. We have a coronavirus card in the game, and it's just so apropos. I love it. Oh, in case anyone's curious, I'm from Taiwan. Taiwan does not have the coronavirus. We keep importing it from you. So yay, Taiwan #1. Okay, Rocket Aug Merchant. Battlecry, do 1 damage to minion and give it Rush. I was a lot higher on this card, and then I realized that one of the key things that you want to give Rush is Divine Shield minions. And you can't give Divine Shield minions Rush because you knock off the Divine Shield. So with this, Rush becomes a lot worse. And so for me, like, this went from an easy 4-star card to like a high, to like borderline low 4, high 3. Because Rush is powerful. We've seen that from the lackeys, and this is much better than the Rush lackey in some respects. But if you're not putting this on the Divine Shield card, then it becomes a lot worse. Not to mention that you don't get like the 1 health, the 1 attack buff on it. Soulbound Ashtongue. When this minion takes damage, also deal that amount to your hero. This is a 0-star card. Do not pick this card at all. So the problem with this card is this. The problem is that you're paying 1 health for a Dire Maul, which is, I like Dire Maul, but I'm not going to take a Dire Maul that deals 4 damage to me, or maybe gets overkilled and deals a lot more damage than that to me. And because it has a body that's perfect for buffing, but you don't want to buff it because you're going to be taking damage. So yeah, this is a card that's bad. Do not take it 0 stars. Bonesure Brawler Taunt. Whenever this minion takes damage, gain +2 attack. So this is a Money Berserker, which is a good card. It has Taunt, which is good, and it has a strictly better effect, because a Money Berserker gains the technically not strictly better, but an almost certainly better effect, because Money Berserker gets +3 yes or no, and this one it can grow to 4, or it can grow to 6, or you can buff it and it can keep on growing. So for this is borderline 3 and 4. I would say it's a 4-star card. Imprisoned Violent Fiend, 2 mana, dormant for 2 turns, rush. So double the cost, that means it's a 4 mana 3/5 with rush. That would be better than a Swift Messenger. That would be better, like that would be a better Swift Messenger. So yeah, 3-star card, it's a fine card. Moarg Artificer, all minions take double damage from spells. Okay, this is one of the highest potential cards in the game. So first off, 2 mana 2/4, which means on curve, it's going to be one of the best on curve minions you have. And because it's the early game, the effect isn't going to matter. In the mid to late game, if you've got single target removal, you take something like Priest. Their new Holy Smite costs 1 mana, right? Well, now, and it's 3 damage. So now, their Holy Smite with this deals 6 damage. So you're spending 1 mana to deal 6 damage to a minion, probably killing a 6-drop for 1 mana because of this guy. Yeah, that's an insane effect. Or, better yet, Priest has Holy Nova, which deals 2 damage. Except now, with this guy, it's 4 damage. You just gave Priest a 4 mana Flame Strike that heals your own board because of this guy. So you can see here how powerful this is in certain classes. In classes that have AoEs, like Mage and Shaman, this thing becomes insane. Like Demon Hunter can use Immolation Aura with this thing. Priest can use Holy Nova with this thing. So in these classes, it's really good. It's a 4-star card in Mage and Shaman. It's a 3-star card in Demon Hunter, Priest, and Warlock. The problem is the classes that really don't have that much spell damage. Like Rogue, for all their removals, the only thing that really synergizes with this would be like an Eviscerate. So this doesn't work in Rogue. Hunter really doesn't have it. Like Arcane Shot, sure, but that's like one thing. Warrior doesn't really have it. Paladin doesn't really have it. Like you're talking, Consecrate and Holy Wrath, and it's fine there. Not Holy Wrath, Hammer of Wrath. But anyways, so in classes with strong AoEs or strong damage removals, this is a good card. In classes without it, this is pretty much unpickable because in the late game, this effect is going to make this card worth nothing. Rustsworn Initiate, 2 mana 2/2, Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 Imp Caster with Spell Damage +1. This part doesn't matter because you need to have it. Spell damage is extremely situational, and having it on the Death Rattle of a minion is not really worth it. That said, like this is an above average 2-drop. This would be a 3-star card. So yeah. Blistering Rot. At the end of your turn, summon a rot with stats equal to this minion's. Shrieking Shroom was a 3 mana 1/2 that summoned something at the end of its turn. That was a decent card. Echoing Ooze was a 2 mana 1/2 that gave its stats to. They gave the initial unit stats to whatever it spawned. This is a consistent effect. In classes with buffs, this is really good. So like in Paladin, I would say this is like a borderline 4-star card. I would say Priest, this is probably a high 3-star card. I would say in most classes, it's just a 3-star card because it's a creature that just keeps on pooping out stuff. And yeah, that is how I refer to it. Okay, Frozen Shadow Weaver, Battlecry, freeze an enemy. Freeze is really powerful. So you're putting a freeze on a fairly steady minion, and you're getting a good card. This is a 4-star card. Pick this. Overconfident Orc, taunt. While full health, this has 2 attack. There are enough pings and there are enough small things out there that this is not going... It'll be hit by a ping, and then after it's hit by the ping, it just becomes a Silverback Patriarch. So I'm a little down on this card. I don't think it's a neutral. I don't think it's a Reborn Tar Creeper at all. It's still a 3-star card because it probably will heavily damage the first thing it hits, but I don't think it's going to do enough to be more than a 3-star card. Teron Gorefend, destroy all friendly minions, resummon them with +1/+1. I think that this is actually a net negative effect. I think this is a 2-star card. I think destroying minions, like the tempo loss you from doing that, is not worth resummoning them with +1/+1 except in very specific situations. In addition, like if you have any semblance of board, this is a completely unplayable card. So like it's situational, but for me, 2-star card. Terror Guard Escapee. Summon 3/1 Huntresses for your opponent. 0-star card. We have seen this card before. We know what the effect of a card like this is. You really don't want this card. Burrowing Scorpion. This is a 4-mana 5/2 Battlecry, deal 2 damage. If that kills the target, gain stealth. So, Fireplume Phoenix was a 4-mana 3/3 that dealt 2 damage, and that was an easy 4-star card. This has a 5/2 body, which is better than a 3/3, and has the option to gain stealth. Now, I played a lot of Fireplume Phoenix. I generally use Fireplume Phoenix to kill things. This will kill a lot of things. I'm talking 60-75% of the time. So we're talking a card that's vast majority of the time going to be a 5/2 stealth after killing something. Like this is completely insane card. This is the best neutral in the entire set. And is it Twin Tyrant levels? No. Is it Wrapped Golem levels? No. But from a consistency basis, this is one of the cards that's going to be just like completely powerful. This is an easy 5-star card. Just take it. All right, Disguised Wanderer. So with Disguised Wanderer, it's very comparable to Cursed Disciple, which is a 4-mana 5/1 Death Rattle, summon a 5/1. So with the Disguised Wanderer, the problem it has is that its initial body, 3/3, is not really a threat. With Cursed Disciples, both sides were threats, and you generally did not have pings for both sides of it, so the 5/1 is going to crash into something. Here, if there's a 3/3 on the board and you have a ping, you can probably free kill the 3/3 and then ping off the 9/1. So it's worse in that respect. That said, there are enough times when people just don't have pings. So this is not a bad card at all. It's a 3-star card. It's just there. Elven Navigator. 4-mana 4/4, give your other Murlocs +1/+1. You're probably not going to have Murlocs enough to justify it, so it is a 2-star card. Oops. Why did that come off? Maiev. All right. So Maiev, dormant, but instead of rising after 2 turns, it has this Battlecry. Summon 3/1/3 enemy warders. When they die, destroy all minions and awaken. So 4-mana 12/12. All right. So the thing with this is, in general, summoning things for your opponent is bad. And there are ways that your opponent can deal with this. Like if you have a transform effect, you can cast it on a warder. If you have a bounce effect, you can bounce this back to your hand. So there are ways that you can make this into 4-mana deal nothing. But if you're doing something like polymorphing your own guy, then you've kind of already won, because you're spending a premium removal just to stop 12/12. So what I'm saying is there aren't that many ways to effectively mitigate this. Like only other one I can think of off the top of my hand is Faceless Corruptor. So some sort of like, or an evolve mechanic, some form of transform mechanics. So those are around, but they're not exactly common. So with this, like I'm a little unsure about this. I think it's a 5-star card, and the reason I think that is because it's easy enough to kill off the warders, and you're probably going to be able to kill them off on your turn because the opponent is not going to want to give your Magtheridon charge, or it can just attack. So this is going to wipe the board, and it's cheap enough where you can combo it to wipe the board if you have like any sense of a board. So I think, yeah, this is a good card, and I think 5-star card here. All right. Maiev Shadowsong. Battlecry, choose a minion. It goes dormant for 2 turns. So going dormant for 2 turns, the way I'm interpreting this is you freeze a minion. First you silence a minion for 2 turns, then you freeze it for 2 turns. Freeze by itself is powerful. So freezing and silencing something is extremely powerful. Like, this more than makes up for Spellbreaker leaving the meta, even if it is a legendary. So pretty easy 4-star card here, good card. Replicatatron. All right, so at the end of your turn, transfer your neighbors into a copy of this. So 3/3. Okay, Paladin and Shaman have hero powers that summon totems. So both of those are really good with this card. So like in Paladin, you become a 3/4 mana plus that, you get a 6/6. I'm not going to say really good, but they're okay. And this isn't a consistent effect, so if you can't remove it, then it'll keep on doing this. Now on top of that, Paladin has buffs. So you put buffs on this, and now you turn your guys into powerful things. So I would say in Paladin, in Shaman, it's a 3-star card. Paladin 3 bordering on 4. In other classes, like Druid and Priest, maybe you can do something with buffs. It's not worth it. It's not going to be... It's just not going to be worth trying to set this up. It's too combo-y, too situationally, too set up. So Druid and Priest, I would say very low 2-star. The other class is 1-star. Rustsworn Cultist. Battlecry. Give your other minions Death Rattle. Summon a 1/1 demon. Oh, why does this get the Anakin text? I'm reading the text here. All right. Anyways, so for this to be worth it, you need to hit at least 2 things, preferably 3 things. I don't think that's reliable enough. I think that it's ultimate. Like, I think in Paladin, maybe. In Shaman, maybe. But then your totems are going to be hit by this. So I think it's ultimately a low 3-star card. It will do things, but I think there's a lot better cards out there. Alar. 5 mana 7/3 Death Rattle. Summon an 0/3 Ashes of Alar that resurrects this minion on your next turn. So this is an interesting minion in that nobody wants to kill it. If you have Alar, you don't want to use it to trade because then your 0/3 Ashes of Alar are vulnerable. If you're the opponent, you don't want to kill this because then you just give them Alar back. So it really depends on when your opponent has 2 sources of 3 damage. And I think that is pretty difficult to have. I think it's pretty difficult to have 2 sources of 3 damage. So I think ultimately this is a 4-star card because this is one of those cards that gets much, much worse if you're behind on the board when you play this. And if you're ahead on the board, then it becomes a lot better. But yeah, ultimately 4 stars. Rusted Raider. 5 mana, 1/8, Taunt, Rush, Battlecry, gain 4 attack this turn. So it's an Amani Warbear for 2 less mana that loses its attack with 1 more health. That just sounds insane by itself. Now the thing is on turn 5, you're like, if this was on turn 4, it'd be absolutely broken. On turn 5, it's good. But the problem is that there are enough 5-drops to have 6 health where this doesn't do enough by itself. Like, usually the later in the game there is, the more things have variable amounts of health. And that's where things like Flame Strike or Amani Warbear or Twin Tyrant become effective. But early game, it's about what's on curve. And you'll probably kill most 4-drops of this, but there are enough 5-drops that'll survive. That it's just enough off curve that I'm saying it's 4 stars. Like, I have it the same score as Amani Warbear on Hearth Arena. Waste Ward and Battlecry, deal 3 damage to a minion and all other minions of the same type. So the way I did it is the Flanking Strike in Hunter was a 110. This is 20% of Flanking Strike, and 20% of 110 is about an 80-ish. It's like a little bit higher than 80, and I just rounded it off to 80. But yeah, an 80 is still a 4-star card. So I'm not sure. So because it says type, it's a little weird, or it's worded weirdly, because if, for example, Silverhand Recruits, they aren't the same tribe. Like, everyone knows tribe, but they aren't the same. They aren't all from the same tribe, but they're the same unit. So, like, if you have 2 Silverhand Recruits next to each other, then they aren't, even though this says the same type, the Silverhand Recruits aren't going to die. Only one is going to die. If you've got like 2 oozes next to each other, even though they're the same unit, then they're not going to die. So it's a really poorly worded card, even though it's a powerful card, and we're going to see it a lot in Arena. Dragonmoss Skystalker, 6 mana, 5/6, Death Rattle, summon a 3/4 Dragon Rider, Eccentric Scribe. It's 5 mana body, strong 5 mana body, 5/6. The Death Rattle is basically 3 to 4 mana worth of stuff. So we know how this is going to be. This is going to be a 4-star card. Like, that's what these stat stick effects are. Kael'thas Sunstrider, the Son of Dragons, was merely a setback. Every 3rd spell you cast this turn costs 0. This requires you to have 3 spells in your hand. This is not something that is impossible, but it is not something that is likely. So this is a 2-star card. It's below average. So it's a low 2-star card. It's below average. I think it's possible, but I don't think it's like unplayable. I will say I am a lot higher on this in Mage, because Mage does have a lot of access to just random spell generation and spell cards like that. So I think in Mage it's a high 2-star card, but in most classes it's going to be bad. Scavenging Chavira. 6 mana, 6/3, Battlecry, deals 6 damage randomly split among all minions. So think about Matter Bomber, which is 5 mana, 5/4, deals 6 damage among all minions. Or sorry, all characters. The fact that this is all minions is a huge, huge buff. More than worth the 1 mana for the effect. If your opponent, like, think about Light the Fuse's guy. I forget its name. It's the one from Boomsday. It's the warrior, 5 mana, 3/4 that deals 5 to anything that's not a mech. Split among non-mechs. Like, the name is skipping me. I forget if I wrote it down. Let me see if I wrote it down on my thing here. Dynamatic. So it's like Dynamatic, and that was a premium card. Now at 6 mana, it's questionable, but here, like, again, this effect is really powerful. This could, if your opponent has a 6-drop across the board, this will kill the 6-drop and develop a 6 mana, a powerful card. So it's like, I want to say that this is a low-level 4-star card. I don't think it's great. I think that there's going to be a lot of situations, and that's going to hinder it. But it is, to me, a low-level 4-star card. Bone Chewer Vanguard, Taunt, 7 mana, 4/10. When this takes damage, gain +2 attack. So it's going to take damage, and it's probably going to take like 2 or 3 bits of damage to get through. And if it takes 1 damage, I would say right now, 4/10 is a little worse than Bog Creeper, but after whatever the first hit is, it's going to be a better version of Bog Creeper. And Bog Creeper was a 4-star card. This is likewise a 4-star card. I would actually say better than Bog Creeper because I value the health a lot more. And I would say worse than the Evasive Draconid because it's more vulnerable to removals. But anyways, yeah, good card, 4 stars. Stremo Bissell. 8 mana, 12/12. Insane stats. Can't attack heroes. Very important here. So, the reason big cards work is because big cards are threats. And this card is not a threat. It's 12/12, but it's not a threat. And I'll explain this. One of the big card penalties is that they can only attack one thing. So if this can attack face, it's a threat to your face, so you want to get rid of it. But if this can only attack minions, the problem is you're not going to want to clear it. The opponent's not going to want to clear it. They're just going to ignore it. Because why would you spend 3 cards to clear it when your opponent can only clear 1 card at a time? So, like, you're only going to clear it when it's beneficial to you, and you're going to ignore it otherwise. And big minions getting ignored is not good for big minions. Like, that's at 3-star card. It's a fine card. It's overstated. In a slow meta, this can be really powerful for getting out value, but it's not really like insane or anything like that. And finally, we got probably the linchpin of the set, Scrapyard Colossus. 10 mana, 7/7 taunt, death rattle. Summon a 7/7 Fellcracked Colossus with taunt. So, to be a 10 mana card, you need to be extremely powerful. So here, 7 mana, death rattle, 7/7 is extremely powerful. Barring transform effects, or like Polymorph or Hex, or Sap, or anything like that, there's no way to get through this card efficiently. So you just drop this on 10, and it's going to hit things really, really hard. Like, you could probably take care of like 1/2 of it with removal, but then you have to get through the other half. So, like, it's a really, really, really powerful 10 drop. So for me, this is a 5-star card. Because, like, yeah, because this is kind of going to be what the game revolves around. Can you get through this? It's not necessarily Twin Tyrant or Wrapped Golem, where it morphs the game around it, but it is going to be like the key thing to play around the game. It's going to be more akin to Dig Day than either of those cards, because like Scribe was good, but Dig Day was the card that was the real threat. Dig Day was the card that you always had to have in the back of your mind. So this is going to be the card that you always have in the back of your mind, not necessarily the card the entire set revolves around. All right, and that is it for neutrals. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, hit me up on Reddit, or you can leave comments in the section, and I will reply to you then. All right, thank you very much for watching this, any of you who have watched this, and I hope you have a really good Ashes of Outland expansion. Farewell.